بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أهلا بحضراتكم جميعا طلاب الفرقة الثالثة كلية تجارة شعبة لغة جامعة كفر الشيخ. هنبدأ مع بعض النهاردة بأمر الله مقرر جديد في كتاب Principles of Managerial Finance، مبادئ الإدارة المالية. طبعا دي تعتبر المحاضرة الأولى في المحاضرات الأونلاين أو المحاضرات اللي على النت، وهنبدأ فيها مع بعض إن شاء الله. أول محاضرة وده عبارة عن مقدمة. المقدمة دي حضرتك مسؤول عنها، هشرحها بالتفصيل. وطبعا قبل ما أكمل الشرح وقبل ما أبدأ في شرح المحاضرة، طبعا احنا عارفين إن نظام الامتحان بتاعنا MCQ Multiple Choice Questions، وبالتالي كله هيبقى في شكل اختيار من متعدد، وبالتالي حضرتك تتوقع انك ممكن تسأل عن اجزاء كتير من المقدمة الحالية في شكل True and False. Principles of Managerial Finance. Today, it's our first lecture about Principles of Managerial Finance, on a specific financial management. And before talking about the financial management, we need to know what is the meaning of finance and what is the meaning of management, and third, what's the meaning of financial management. The word of management, as we know, it means the decision-making process. Management process is a decision-making process. Or in brief, we can say that the word or expression of management, it means the art of applying the knowledge. The art of applying the knowledge. If you want to manage, you have to be professional in making decisions. But what is the meaning of finance? Finance as a subject is a subject of studying 6 different topics. Please pay attention. This introduction or comprehensive introduction is out of your textbook, so you have to pay your complete attention for having a complete idea or a comprehensive idea, which will be a great foundation or basics for you as a student. And now we are talking about finance. What is the meaning of finance as a subject? We just said that finance as a subject is a subject of studying 6 different topics. The first topic or the first subject is called financial management. Just a minute. We have defined that the management process is a process of decision making. The process of decision making, or the art of applying the knowledge. So when talking about financial management, we say the art of running the money. So the management process is the art of applying the knowledge. The financial management process is the art of running the money. This is the meaning of financial management. In finance, the first topic is called financial management. The second topic is called investment management. And we also, under the same title of finance, we have to study what is the meaning of financial economic, and then behavioral finance, personal finance, and public finance. These are the 6 topics of finance as a subject. And now, let's talk about the financial management, the first subject or the first topic of finance. Financial management can be called managerial finance. Managerial finance. This or the course of yours for this semester. Managerial finance. So, when talking about financial management, we can say that the financial management is the same as managerial finance, and it can be also called corporate finance or the finance of large businesses. Large businesses are the corporations or multinational companies. So if you want to know what is the meaning of financial management, you have to study how the large corporations, how the multinational corporations can easily manage or run their own properties. This is the meaning of financial management. And under the title of financial management, you have to study three basic or main decisions. Three main or basic decisions. So, under this financial management, you have to study the decisions of working capital management. This is the first main topic of financial management. The second type of decisions is called decisions of capital budgeting techniques or decisions of capital budgeting. And the third main type of decisions is called decisions of the capital structure. So, in the financial management, you have to study the working capital management, the capital budgeting management or decisions, and the capital structure decisions. These are the three main decisions of the financial management. So, some authors prefer to call the financial management to call it managerial finance. Some other authors prefer to call it corporate finance, and in common it can be called the financial or the finance of large businesses. This is the meaning of financial management. However, the second type of finance is called the investment management. So, in finance, if you want to know or to identify the meaning of finance, you have to talk about managerial finance, investment management, as we just said, financial economics, behavioral finance, personal finance, and public finance. And now, what is the meaning of investment management? Investment management if you want to know the meaning of the investment expression, it means sacrificing your recent consumption for your money, for attending or for achieving some special gains or targets in the future. If you have a deposit on a bank by your name, it means that you are an investor. It means that you are sacrificing or delaying your recent consumption for the amount of your money in your bank account for having a greater amount in the future, because in the future you will have your deposit in addition to the benefits or the interest payments on your deposit. So you have gain two types of gains or profits. The first one is your capital amount of money. The second one is the returns or the rewards of your capital. So you are sacrificing your recent consumption for a future one. This is the meaning of investment. And in the investment process, you have to know what is the meaning of security analysis, what is the meaning of the portfolio theory, and what is the meaning of the financial markets analysis. And the security analysis, in the process of security analysis, you are trying to analyze the financial assets for reaching to the fair value of these securities. So in security analysis, you are trying to know what about the fair value, the fair price of your security or of your instrument or of your financial asset. This is the meaning of security analysis. In the meantime, if you are talking about financial investment management, you have to know everything about the portfolio theory, how to combine or how to join between more than one single asset for achieving a specific level of return and minimizing the specific level of risks that matches this level of return, which means how to achieve a proper level of return at a proper level of risk. This is the meaning of portfolio theory, to gather or to combine between more than one single asset, which means building a basket of securities for achieving your goals, even if it was the return or the risk itself. And for talking about the investment management, you also have to know what is the meaning of financial markets analysis. And when talking about the financial markets analysis, you are talking to benefit from the process of diversification. And not only diversification, but you have to know what is the meaning of international diversification. Because if you want to choose or to buy specific common stock, you have to analyze this common stock. And if you want to utilize your money, you have to know what is the meaning of gathering or of combining between more than common stock in a basket and a portfolio. And if you want to minimize the corporate risk or the organized risk of your portfolio, you have to build an international portfolio. And if you want to build an international portfolio, you have to analyze the financial markets performance in order to make sure that you are able to gather or to combine between the proper or the best single assets that can be allocated in each single financial market. So, under the process of investment, you have to know the meaning of security analysis, the meaning of portfolio theory, and the financial markets analysis. This is the meaning of investment process. And now, let's move for another topic of finance. The third topic of finance is called financial economics. And the meaning of financial economics is a subject of studying the financial system. So, the financial economic is a subject of studying the financial system. And what about the financial system? The financial system in any country consists of three main topics. The first one is the financial markets. The second one is the financial institutions and the financial instruments. So, the financial economic is a subject of studying the financial system, which consists of three main parts: financial markets, financial institutions, and financial instruments. Let's today talking about the financial markets for the next lecture, because it's an intensive course or intensive one. And now we'll talk about the financial institutions and the financial instruments. The financial institutions are the corporations or the firms or the institutions that play the role of intermediation between two partners. Once again, the financial institutions are the corporations that play the role of financial intermediations between two partners. The first partner is called savers. The second partner is called investors. So the financial institutions, the corporations that plays the role of financial intermediation between savers and investors. And these financial institutions can be classified into banking institutions or banking system and non-banking system. So the bank sector are the financial institutions that plays the role of financial intermediation between savers and investors. And these banks itself can be classified into traditional banks or Islamic banks. Traditional banks such as in Egypt, for example, when talking about the traditional banking, we are talking about the commercial banks, the investment banks, the saving banks, the industrial banks, the social banks, and the agricultural ones. So, the banking system in any country can be classified into, or it consists of the commercial banks, the investment ones, saving ones, industrial, social, and agricultural banks or ones. This is the meaning of banking system in any country. At the same time, the financial institutions, as we just said, which can be classified into banking system and non-banking system. The non-banking system or the non-banking institutions are the corporations that already play the role of financial intermediations, but they are not banks. They are not banks. They can receive deposits from savers and investors, and they can use these deposits for reinvestment process, such as brokerage company, insurance company, mutual funds, pension funds, and credit unions. These corporations are the financial ones, but they are not banks. They are not belonging to the banking system. Why? Because they I think that we can, or we prefer, or would rather talk about this non-banking system in a specific lecture, not for now. And now, it's moving for the third partition of the financial system. We said that financial economics is a subject of studying the financial system, and the financial system itself can be classified into financial markets, financial institutions, and financial instruments. What is the meaning of financial instruments? The financial instruments are the financial assets, the financial securities that can be traded inside the financial markets via or by the financial institutions. And the financial institutions itself can be classified into individual or the financial instruments is the media that the financial institutions as investors can use for dealing inside the financial markets. So, when dealing inside the financial markets, we have two types of investors. We have individual investors and constitutional or institutional investors. These individual or institutional investors, for dealing inside the financial markets, they need to use the financial instruments or the financial securities or the financial assets. So the financial assets are the media that can be traded inside the financial markets itself. This is the meaning of the financial instruments. And these financial instruments or these financial assets can be classified into long-term instruments and short-term ones. The long-term instruments can be classified into stocks, bonds, and mutual funds shares. So, the common stocks, the preferred stocks, the bonds, and the mutual funds shares can be called long-term instruments, long-term instruments, or long-term financial assets or financial securities. This is the meaning of the long-term financial securities. And what is the meaning of stock? And what is the meaning of bond? And what is the meaning of the mutual fund share itself? The stock is a proof for ownership, that can be issued by specific financial institutions. So the common stock or the preferred stock, they both are ownership properties or are proof of ownership. By having a common stock, you are a common stockholder, or you can be called a common stockholder for these or for the corporation that issued this specific type of common stock. So if you have common stock, you are a common stockholder, you are a partner of this corporation, and against your partnership you have some rights. And against your partnership you have some responsibilities. The first right, if you are the common stockholder or are the partner at the corporation, you can receive the payments of these common stocks, which can be called the dividends. So you are a corporation's owner. You are a common stockholder, and for this ownership, you have the right to receive this corporation's dividends, and you have participated in such a company or in such a corporation by a specific proportion of your money. So you have two types of gains. You have your profits and dividends. You have your proportion of the firm itself, and at the same time you have another right which can be called the voting right. For each single asset you have a voting right for selecting between the board of administrators or the board of managers for this firm. You have a right to choose which one can be the proper for running this corporation and which one cannot be the proper one, because you have to vote. You have a voting right. Against the common stocks or the stocks, we have another type of long-term instruments such as bonds. When talking about bonds, we can say they are proof of creditorship. Proof of creditorship. If you are a bondholder, you are a money lender for this corporation. Against the common stock, you are the owner. But in the case of bonds, you are a creditor for this firm. You are a money lender for this firm or corporation. So, against your creditorship, because you have lended money for this corporation, you have specific right. You have fixed payments of interests. You have fixed payments of interests. In the case of common stocks, you have variable or changeable payments of profits or gains, which can be called dividends. But in the case of bonds, you have fixed payments of interests in your money, because you are a money lender for the corporation, as I just said. This is the meaning of bonds. And we have another specific type of long-term instruments, which can be called mutual funds shares. Mutual funds shares. And I think that next year, or in the next term, we'll talk about the investment management. And inside the investment management, we will talk about the mutual funds itself. So it's a complete course or a complete chapter about the mutual funds itself. But we still have another type of the financial instruments or the financial assets, which is called the short-term instruments. So we have long-term financial assets such as stocks, bonds, and mutual fund shares. At the same time, we have short-term instruments such as treasury bills, such as commercial papers, banker acceptance, negotiable CDs or certificates of deposits. So we have negotiable certificates of deposits. In addition to repurchase agreement and euro-dollar deposits. These types of short-term financial assets or securities can be traded inside the short-term markets. And the short-term markets is called the money markets. So these short-term instruments can be called the short-term media that can be traded inside the money markets itself. And this is the meaning of financial economic. So up to now, we have finished talking about the financial management or the managerial finance. We have finished talking about investment management, and we also have finished talking about the financial economics. Okay, and now let's move for another topic of finance, which is called behavioral finance. What is the meaning of behavioral finance? Do you think it is the way you think, the way you play, the way you talk, the way you can deal with the others can't be effect on your financial decisions making process? If you are thinking so, actually you are not what? What is the meaning? You think there's a way you eat, the way you talk, the way you behave with the other people which is around you cannot affect your financial decision making process? You are wrong. Why? Because in behavioral finance we are trying to study how the human natures, features, and behavioral can affect the financial decisions making process. This is the meaning of behavioral finance. You are studying the behavioral attitudes of the humanity itself, which can affect on the decisions making process. So in behavioral finance we are trying to study how the human natures, the human features, and the human behaviorals can affect the decisions making process. This is the meaning of behavioral finance. And personal finance, what does it mean? In personal finance, we are trying to study how individual families and individuals themselves can run their own properties. In personal finance, we are trying to study how individuals and families can run their properties. This is the meaning of personal finance. And finally, public finance. Public finance. This is the sixth topic of or branch of finance as a subject. Public finance. In public finance, we are trying to study how the government can manage or run the public properties. And in the very ancient times, the public finance was talking about how to manage the king properties. So in the very ancient times, when talking about how to manage the king properties, we are talking about the public finance. But nowadays, under any financial system of any country, if you are trying to study how the government itself can run the properties of the country, we are talking about the public management. So the public management, it means how the government can run the public properties of the nations. This is the meaning of public finance. I actually know it's a very comprehensive and intensive introduction, but I think that it's a very important one, and it will be a main part of your final exam. It will be in the case of true and false multiple choice questions, because we can talk about this introduction in details inside each specific chapter itself. And thank you very much for your paying attention. But I think it will be a very complete or very difficult one, because you have to know what is the meaning of each expression in details. What is the meaning of each word inside this introduction? Thank you very much.